Of course. Here's the modified article as a continuous speech-style narrative without paragraph numbering or instructional formatting. It was one of those surreal nights in Baltimore. The kind of night where a player starts in one dugout and ends it in another. For Seranthony Dominguez, the walk through the cold, damp tunnels of Camden Yards wasn't just a journey between clubhouses, it was a passage between two entirely different worlds. When the sun had first risen that morning, Dominguez was a member of the Baltimore Orioles, a team rooted at the bottom of the standings, clinging to hope, yet suffocating under the weight of a rebuilding year. But by the time the stadium lights were glowing under the July sky, he had become a Toronto Blue Jay, a contender, a threat, and part of something that felt instantly bigger than himself. Baseball has always been a game of numbers, timing, and sudden movement. Trades are expected. Uncertainty is baked into the contract ink. But rarely did they unfold in real time, in the middle of a doubleheader, catching even seasoned veterans off guard. As Dominguez made his way through the labyrinth of corridors, flanked by equipment bins and forgotten memorabilia, the reality started to settle in. He wasn't walking toward a hotel or a waiting bus. He was heading toward a new opportunity, a new uniform, a new destiny. His mind, always active, was suddenly flooded with questions. Who was waiting on the other side of that hallway? Would the clubhouse be welcoming or standoffish? How would the coaching staff mold his style into their bullpen strategy? And most pressingly, how would he fit into a team chasing October while he was still shaking off the dust of a last-place finish? Dominguez had never been one to shy away from pressure. His fastball still lit up the radar gun, touching 98 miles per hour with an effortless whip of the arm. His splitter, deceptive and devastating, had become a calling card this season. Scouts had noticed, so had hitters, and clearly, so had Toronto's front office. The deal itself wasn't splashy. The Orioles shipped him off for a Double-A pitcher with some upside and a couple of years ahead before sniffing the majors. But deals like this aren't about headlines. They're about edges, margins. Teams that win in October often do so because of moves like this, small, calculated, precisely timed. As he passed into Blue Jays territory, nodding to a familiar trainer and adjusting his cap out of habit, Dominguez couldn't help but reflect on the symbolism of that hallway. Just hours ago, it had felt like a dead end. Now it felt like a bridge. A bridge to purpose, to meaning, to baseball that counts when the leaves begin to fall. His phone buzzed constantly, old teammates offering congratulations, Orioles staffers wishing him well, and a few messages from guys in the Blue Jays pen already welcoming him to the crew. He smiled. This wasn't just a trade. This was a lifeline, a second wind in a season that had started to feel stale. He thought back to spring training, when the Orioles were still selling belief, talking about internal growth, building the foundation. But the games had worn on, and the losses piled up. The energy faded. It was hard to stay sharp when the standings mocked your efforts. Now, everything mattered. Every pitch, every out, every inning. The adrenaline of a wild card chase, the weight of expectations, the chemistry of a clubhouse gunning for something real, it was intoxicating. He found his locker. It wasn't glamorous. Just a nameplate, some clean gear, and a fresh jersey. But to Dominguez, it was a symbol of rebirth. He suited up, listened to the muffled sound of batting practice thuds from the field above, and took a deep breath. Baseball, like life, has a funny way of giving second chances when you least expect them. You just have to be ready when the door opens, even if it's a concrete door in the belly of a stadium during a muggy night in July. Later, reporters would ask him about the trade, about the oddity of switching uniforms between games. He'd laugh, give the usual answers. It's part of the game. You stay ready. It's a business. But deep down, he knew what it really was. It was a turning point. The Blue Jays didn't bring him in to be flashy. They brought him in because he could get outs. High-leverage outs. October outs. The kind of outs that turn good teams into great ones. As the night wound down and he sat quietly near the end of the bench, Dominguez let himself imagine the roar of a playoff crowd. He imagined standing on the mound, Blue Jays jersey stretched across his chest, facing the heart of an opposing lineup with the season hanging in the balance. He was ready. The hallway behind him was already forgotten. All that mattered now was what lay ahead.